Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Yvonne from GingerChickRehab. I am so glad to have you back checking out what Chris and I are up to. So in today's video, I am doing a trash to treasure, a garage sale, dumpster dive, whatever you want to say, fine. As I was leaving a garage sale, I had a lady say, hey, were you interested in this piece? Because I saw you looking at it, but it was a little too much for us flippers. You know, we have a certain price that we need it to be at to be able to make it worth our while of reselling it. So as I'm walking down the driveway, she's followed me and offered me a cheaper price. So wow. And then along with that, I was able to get some of the new transfers from Vonda, from the Painted Heirloom, from IOD. So this is what today's project is two blessings in one. Here's the piece. Yes, I didn't need another piece of furniture, but when you're at a garage sale and you look at it and you're done checking out and you're starting to walk down the driveway and they're like, hey, would you like a discount on this? I saw you looking at it. You know, they got me. I didn't need another piece of furniture, but yes, but the size of it is what caught my eye. Just something not terribly large and just some extra storage. So I also love that this is a solid wood. It doesn't have any veneer board on it, that we can just change it and make it our own. So if you are new to our channel, this is something I tag team with my husband, Chris. And so he's going to be taking all the hardware, the doors and everything apart. And I'm super excited to update this very orangey color. And sometimes tightening a piece up is just as simple as tightening up those screws. So luckily I didn't have to take anything apart to re-glue it. The screws had just come loose, and so that's going to make it nice and sturdy. So this is the perfect opportunity for Chris to test out that belt sander. If you saw the auction video, oh my gosh, that auction video where the people, if they had a collection of one thing, they had a collection of 100 things. If you did not pop over and see that. Anyway, he picked up this belt sander for $5 at the auction, and what a perfect opportunity, since my vision was that this piece not to be red in the warm color, to sand this all the way down. So yep, he gets to use his new tool and see how it works. So here we go. Well, that really didn't take him much time at all with that big old belt sander. So now that he's got that all off, he's going to go down now, because that was 80 grit that he had on the belt sander. He's going to go down to a 150 grit and then to a 220 grit to make sure that this top is nice and smooth. Hang with us as we do some brainstorming. As Chris just sanded all that top, there's 3 drawers and these doors that open up. So I'm going to be using the IOD new transfers that I got from Vonda from the Painted Heirloom, but I need to see how much of the surface area this fits. So before we go on any further, I need to see if I want to paint the drawers white or if he doesn't mind sanding those drawer fronts off also. This is one of those pieces where there's just not a good stopping point to just paint the outside of the piece, because the bottom doesn't have any type of lip. It sticks out. The doors themselves stick out a little bit. So we made the decision to paint the inside the same color. So Chris is just taking off the sliding mechanisms for the drawers. So instead of painting the drawers white, we decided to sand them all the way down natural, just like the top. So the doors where we want to put the IOD transfer, they have these cutouts in the middle of them to give them a little added detail. But unfortunately, that is going to kind of make it hard trying to stick that transfer. I'm already going to have to cut in between each one of the doors to begin with. So Chris is going to take some Durham water putty and fill that whole space in on all 3 doors. That way I'm just working with a flat surface and I don't have to worry about the transfer kind of making it go awkward looking. I'm not sure if it will or not, but just to be on the safe side, you only have one chance with those transfers. Now, Chris spent all that time sanding down to this beautiful wood, so I'm going to be covering it up before I start painting. So I just have some Dollar Tree contact paper that is nice and sticky, but not sticky that it'll leave a residue behind, just to cover this up and protect. And as you see, it doesn't necessarily always stay stuck down. So what I'm doing here is I have some 2-inch masking tape from the Dollar General store, and I'm just folding it over that lip that he sanded and cutting the excess off. Yeah, the Dollar Tree contact paper works for a huge surface area, but don't think that you're going to try to just have it go over that curve or your edge, because it doesn't really necessarily stay stuck without the help of the tape. We let that Durham water putty dry overnight, so now it's time to be sanded smooth. So taking some 80 grit sandpaper to work down that Durham water putty so it's nice and flush. So now I'm going to get these all cleaned off. He did a wonderful job filling them in. Look at that accent. But I'm going to get these all washed off because I'm going to have to even out the porosity from the Durham water putty and the wood. I'm going to go ahead and give that a couple coatings of shellac where it's going to even out that porosity, meaning that where the wood will absorb the paint in and where the Durham water putty will absorb the paint in will not be the same. So using the shellac will even out that porosity. And I'll go ahead and get the rest of my pieces all washed up. Yep, when we're painting the inside, I'm going to have to paint the entire drawer itself too. So the same thing, I taped off where he had sanded that all the way down to the natural. So now I could have used the shellac on this entire piece, which will prevent bleed through. When it's warm like this, a lot of times when I go to paint something white, it will turn the white paint yellow. But I stumbled across this red primer. Yep, it's a red primer. And then somebody said to me that, hey, did you know that prevents bleed through? Which you kind of think, okay, the red one or the primer itself? But either way, it is a bigger bottle than what my shellac is, so it's more cost efficient to go ahead and prime this piece first using this red Rust-Oleum primer. So now I have it all primed, and it's hot and humid here in Michigan. So even though the can says 15 minutes, I like to let it sit at least an hour. You can tell when it's not shining anymore that it is dry, but for some of the pieces I have to flip them over and get the other side. So this is what it looks like as it's all primed. I tried my best to get that inside, but that's not always an easy position to get into. Now that it's dry, I'm going to be using my TrueCrow 360 handheld sprayer. Kills paint and primer in the flat white, my favorite go-to white color, to get these all painted up with. And now we are blessed to have a spray room, you all. And then, so this is a shed that we attached to our workshop that is an extra space, so I don't have to be outside trying to spray. If you're new to our channel, this is what it is. And then, of course, you see my little turntable I got going on there so I can get that 360 of spray. I do notice from some smaller pieces I tried that primer out on how well it grabs my paint. So really so far that's just one coat, and now we're flipping it over to get the other side. Nice thing about having boards and carrying the pieces and parts that you can, I can do multiple pieces and get them all sprayed out and lay them on our work tables to dry. So now that they are dry, I'm going to go in and yep, I even have to sand the drawers also. So I'm making sure that they are nice and smooth, but that True Coat does such a nice fine mist. There's just really minimal sanding just in case anything was flying around and got caught. We have cottonwood season right now here in Michigan, and even though my shop's all closed up, all of a sudden you see that little piece of cotton just floating around and getting stuck in my paint. So now that I have them all standing smooth, I am going to go back in with some polyacrylic spray and seal these all in. I can imagine this being used in a kitchen area, an extra space, so I want to really make sure that my white paint is good and sealed so that somebody can use this for food storage and would not have to worry about the white paint getting any marks, any stains on it, just making sure that that paint is filled in top coat. We already got a couple primers going on there with the primer and then with the Kills Paint primer, so let's get it sealed in with some good top coat. Oh, I am really loving my first season of garage sailing. This is really my first season of garage sailing. So I ran across this contact paper, this black and white contact paper. I don't even think I've showed it into the haul, but I definitely envisioned it with this IOD transfer. So before I've got these all sealed in with polyacrylic, I don't want to remove that tape off the drawer before doing any kind of waxing or anything like that, because I want to make sure that my contact paper is going to stick properly. So I'm going to go ahead and put the contact paper in the inside of the drawers and on the shelves on the bottom. I just think that is just a fun black and white check. We'll just add some more protection to the drawers and the shelves and just have that little hidden like, oh, well, that was fun kind of feeling when you open them up. I always try to place the manufacturer's cut along the front of the drawer because their cut is way better than mine. And then I just gingerly try to make sure that I don't have any air pockets as I'm sticking it down. And then taking my finger, making creases in all three sides, and then sticking my finger in that corner, making a nice tight fit. And then what I'll do is I'll go back in with some scissors, lift that paper up ever so gingerly. I can see my corner now, and then it's going to release some of that pressure to make a nice clean cut. I'm going to snip that corner piece. Then I like to take a metal spatula scraping tool and an X-Acto knife and press it really hard into that corner, making a nice tight fit, and then taking that X-Acto knife to make a clean cut. Now, after getting all that tape removed from the front of the drawer, I'm taking some sandpaper. We always get that hard, crusty edge where the paint builds up, and just taking some sandpaper and making sure that it's nice and smooth. And now I can move on to my shelves, doing that same thing where I put the manufacturer's edge towards the front and just covering these up with this fun paper. I'm not replacing any of the hardware. I like to use what hardware is there. So to paint up this hardware, I'm just using some Ebony Rub and Buff. I absolutely love the Rub and Buff line. I have many of different colors. There's gold, there's silver, there's copper, but today I am using the black. So all you do is brush it on, let it sit for just a second or so, and then wipe it off. So now we're getting to the part where we get to start putting it back together. That's always fun, remembering where everything goes, especially when I'm not the one that took it off. So matching up the screws to what goes with which hardware here. And so the hinges, the drawer slides, and getting this all put back together. That I have it all put back together, I can see what it looks like. Oh, and after getting this contact paper off and the tape, I love the natural color of this all. That's sometimes I'm a visual and I have to see, once I have it put all back together, do I want to stain it? Do I want to whitewash it? But I love those knots towards the front. I'm loving the look of natural wood with white. So I'm just going in with my Annie Sloan waxing brush and the Minwax soft wax to do a couple coats. So what I do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to get that first coat on this dry wood is really going to soak in. And then I let it soak in until it's dry. You can tell when you touch it, and then I'll go ahead and put another coat on, and then after that's dry, I usually will do one more coat to make sure that this is a top coat that can be used and that it's good and on. But once you get your coats on, you brush it on and then you wipe off any of the extra. So I don't want anybody thinking that, oh, one coat of wax is good. It's just like a polyacrylic or anything like that. It's a protective coating if you're already doing it over a paint or you're doing it over a polyacrylic. But for this, that's why I'm doing the 3. This is my finished top coat, so I want to make sure that everything is filled in. Be the exact same thing with the natural wood. So this is just a clear top coat. It's just a soft wax that's easily brushed on and wiped off. Now that the wax is dry, I'm going to go back in and I'm going to start putting the hardware on. And I know you probably thought, oh, look at those little holes, but that's where the hardware went that you could see. So yep, it's time to get those back on. You ever think I was going to get to the transfer part? Yep, we saved the best for last. So now it's the fun of picking out what pieces of parts of this transfer I want. But first I'm going to go in and try to get cut a little bit closer than the manufacturer's edge so I can eyeball where my center point is. So my center point on this piece is that middle drawer, and then there's a little bit of a detail piece in the middle of the handle that I'm going with, but I want to cut these manufacturer's edges off just a little bit closer so I have a little bit more visual of how and where it goes. And then on the outside of this transfer, I don't want that square box. It does not fit the entire door faces anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and cut that off too. That I have it a little bit more workable for myself. I got that other outer edge. I got all the excess cut off. I'm going to go ahead and start centering and going to work from one. Of course, we all wish that this was all one piece, but it comes in 4s. So, yep, I'm going to start right off with one of the top pieces and work from there. So as you see, I left the bottom piece underneath it. I'm just having a little bit of a piece right now that's just touching the furniture itself and just very gingerly pressing that down until I know that that is where I want it and that it's centered, and work my way down of removing that backing piece. And I'm going to have to cut where the drawers are. There's nothing I could do about that, but I think it usually ends up looking just fine. So just very gingerly moving that down and making sure that my transfer is all stuck. Now I'm not going to stick my whole transfer. I'm going to get this piece released onto the piece of furniture first before moving on, because there's just a little bit of an overlap of that hard plastic covering on this that it just won't line up if you try to put all four down at the same time. So I'm just using the rubbing tool, and I'm going to get my bicep and arm workout here by rubbing this transfer onto this piece of furniture. And now, before starting to pull away my top protective layer, I'm going to go ahead and very gingerly try to cut in the center to release the tension that when I'm pulling this up, I'm not pulling that transfer right up with it. And then I'm really getting my rubbing tool in there and making sure that those corners are down on the side of those doors. And then if you are new to transfers, finally when you think you've got it mostly stuck, you can start lifting up that top. Now you just want to very gingerly pull it up as you're working, making sure all the little pieces or parts are stuck down. Going back, if you lift anything off that shouldn't have been off, that should be stuck back down on the piece of furniture. I hope that makes sense. So I just gingerly start pulling up that hard plastic protective coating and just keep on rubbing my transfer down. So it ends up that it's going to kind of, with the doors, going to be, instead of 4, it's going to be 8 pieces I'm going to be transferring down. Now we have our first section done. Now I'm going to try to line up and match up my next section. So still, again, keeping that original backing on there. Some people say they use parchment paper because it's a little bit bigger and they can pull it out. Each to their own, whatever works for you do. And so now I'm just trying to find the pieces and parts that I need to line up. So of course it's like a 90-degree here that I need to do the wording. I need to do across and down, so just moving my paper ever so slightly just to get a little bit of an edge that I can work with to get that stuck down first before getting the rest of the transfer stuck down. So you just want to make sure you're lined up first before removing that backing away. It's really a lot of repeating, just making sure that you're lined up. I get it rubbed down, making sure most of the surface area is attached. It's not released yet, but it's attached, and then cutting in between the doors. Gotta love the power of editing, because voila, I have it now attached. So now my third piece, fifth piece. Anyway, I'm going to match up the sheep's head. So yep, that's where I'm going to start with this one. They're lining up really easily. It may look a little bit difficult because I'm really trying my best, because you only have one shot. You can't lift it back off the piece of furniture, so it may seem like I'm really taking my time, but I want to, because I want to make sure that it is lined up and then it's not overlapping and it's not wonky, but they're lining up very easily. Okay, we got that on. Now it's time for the last piece. And see, it really is lining up really nice. Even with the cuts in the doors, you're still getting, it's not taking away from what this beautiful transfer is. So now let's get this last one on. Or just look at something and think, oh my goodness, just gorgeous this transfer is. Oh my goodness. So now I need to seal my transfer in, and I'm just flipping back to my Varathane natural wax to seal this transfer in. And then just a little bit more put together, put the shelves in. They're a nice tight fit. I love that paper on them before your final reveal.
So I hope that you enjoyed today's makeover. What a awesome one to get somebody to offer me a lower price on a piece of furniture, and then Vonda to send me the transfer so I can share my thought process with you all on this piece. I absolutely am in love right now with that natural look. And sometimes when you sand things down, you need to stain them, but this just came out so clean looking that I just left it as is, and a couple coats of wax is there. It's a wonderful top coat. Thank you for watching today's video, guys, and as always, give me a quick comment. Have I inspired you in any way? Are you going to try any of the techniques that I shared with you today? And if you are part of our YouTube family, thank you so much. Your kind compliments, you're always watching our videos, giving it a thumbs up. So if you're new and checking out our channel for the first time and you liked what you saw, please hit that subscription button along with the notification bell so you can see what we are up to. Bye!